Hey everyone, so I'm going to revisit a bottom shelf review that I did some time ago. This Jim Beam 7-year. Now, I have a little sample. I've gotten a few little samples here and there. I've actually done this where I've taken this out to bring your owns, and I've had this on two different occasions at dinner, and I have a third one here that I wanted to save for this. And the reason is because I don't think it's that bad. I really don't. I mean, I don't remember exactly. I did this review a long time ago. I have my notes in front of me. I know I said it was definitely an improvement over the Jim Beam White. No dispute there. I think Jim Beam White, I would say, is probably aged around 4 years or something. This is clearly 7 years. And I did a blind at the time of the previous iteration of this, which was the extra aged, and this. And I found that it was better as well. Just to go back on that, the extra aged was the previous bottle before this. I still see them on a lot of shelves. I think ultimately this will replace that. But the difference was the extra age was 86 proof. This is 90 proof. And the extra age was aged around 6 years, not quite 7. This is clearly 7 years, obviously, at least by the age statement. And I found by the blind that was better than this. But I don't know if I ever really kind of put the exclamation in it. And I'm not by any means saying that this is great or anything like that, but I've had it the last few times. I've had these little samples, and I got to be honest with you, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's quite tasty, miles ahead of the Jim Beam White. And I think the price point for a 750 around me is like $29, give or take, or something like that. Whether it be less or more, somewhere in that range. So let's just pour this up again and give it a try right now. Okay, so we have this poured up. Two things before I go into the tasting. First of all, when I say the previous bottle being extra aged, it was technically called the Jim Beam Black Extra Aged. So it's still a black label, but it was, just to distinguish between this, it was Jim Beam Black Extra Aged, and now it's just Jim Beam 7-year. You want to call it Jim Beam Black 7-year, whatever it is. But there definitely is an improvement in this over the black label, and I do believe it's due to a little bit of extra aging to make this 7 years versus the 6. So that's clearly the case. And the other thing is, gotta love these samples. You know how much this was? $1.50. I mean, this is just, I love this, because you think about what you have. This is a pour. Whatever this is, this would be a lot more in a restaurant, even for this. So let's get into the nose. Okay, again, I'm getting, it's not the same nose that I get on the white. I'd say, your typical vanilla caramel. Let's get into the taste. Cheers. So it does have really focusing on, you do get a little bit of that Jim Beam nuttiness in there. I don't get this an off taste that I get from the white that I think is definitely I want to call it more refined, but definitely less present in this. Now, this is 90 proof, so of course the proof is an improvement over the 86 from before. And just to state, let's get the Jim Beam mash bill of the 77 corn, 13 rye, 10% malted barley. It's interesting. 13 rye, you think 13 rye, that's the same rye as Wild Turkey, but for some reason the rye component in Wild Turkey is just much greater to me. So, one more. So, to really make this really simple, this is a bottom shelf that's available, I mean, pretty much everywhere. Where they don't have this, they have the old extra age, which is almost as good. But the point is, maybe it's like 29 or so for a 750 by me, more or less, probably less than a lot of other places. This is, I did a video on good budget bourbons. I would add this one to the list. Breaking Bourbon gave this 2 stars. I'm not saying that this is necessarily 3, but I'm not necessarily saying it's 2 either. I think this actually is a decent, very reasonable bottom shelf pour that I think I'm taking another look at, because I've had a few good experiences with it where, it's not to say it's great, but I really didn't mind it at dinner, and it was quite enjoyable to drink. So, not that this is going to be my everyday drinker or anything, or I'm going to keep getting large bottles of this, but this definitely is a reasonable, easy to find budget bourbon that you should not overlook. Cheers.